Sunday school lessons taught on it. It's a little bit difficult chapter to preach and to keep clarified, but we're going to ask the Lord right here, just right now, to have His way with this. Father, we come, Lord, and I have a feeling that from the Holy Spirit, Lord, that you wanted us to preach on this, and I'm going to do my very best. I'm limited, Lord God, in what it is you'd have me to say, and I don't understand everything there just is to know about this whole chapter. But Father, help me clarify this. Keep it clear in our minds, and keep it, most of all, keep it accurate, Lord God, with my words. We just ask you just use us as a vessel, nothing more. We just give you the praise and honor in Jesus Christ's name we pray this morning. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to start with the first 13 verses of Matthew 24. I'm going to take you over to Revelations and maybe one other place. If you'd stay with me, 3 places is probably as far as we're going to go. I don't want to go so deep into it that we bring confusion, because that can happen here. But in Matthew 24, it reads like this. It says, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said unto them, See you not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be?" Talking about his second coming, right? "And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of the wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass. This is very important. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. And all these are the beginnings of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. I want to stop right there. I'm going to say that number 13 for just a second. Well, we may finish this thing out before we're done, but Jesus said here, his disciples were trying to ask him, when shall this be? When shall the end of the earth come? When is your second coming? You see that Jesus said, see that you are not troubled. Talking to the Christian. He said, for all these things must come to pass. But then he said something really important, and we got to be careful with this. He said, but the end is not yet. And what I want you to understand today out of this chapter is this: the end of time is a accumulation of events. It's not just one event. There's been many things in history in the past that men thought, here comes Jesus, because of this one major event that happened. But it's not that way. He says, for the end has not yet come. It's an accumulation of many, many different things. I think we're seeing that. I believe personally we are in the last days. But it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of things Jesus mentions in this section are not the things that mark specific signs of the end. Things like false messiahs, and things like wars and famines and pestilences and earthquakes have certainly marked man's history since the time of Jesus' ascension. But were not specific signs of the end. They were a part of an accumulation process. No man knows the time nor the hour.
Mm-hmm.
In effect, Jesus said, all these major events will happen. but these will not signal the end. Now I'm just reading you what God's Word says.
Right.
It's kind of different sometimes than what our ears tell us what the Bible says. But he said, none of these things in their singularity, if that's a word, will notify us of the end. It is the accumulation of all these things coming together that we know that the end is drawing close.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of any great war or any great famine or any great earthquake, it is natural to believe. It's natural to believe that the world is coming to an end. But Jesus said there is far more specific signs that we can look at that would indicate his return. And that got me interested when I began to read this. He does say, though, that all these things are the beginning of sorrows. Though none of these events are the specific sign of the end, collectively, they are a sign. Collectively. That's what you got to keep your mind wrapped around. And we're seeing many of these things. Many, many, many of them. When Jesus described these calamities, if you will, as the beginning of sorrows, he literally called them the beginning of the labor pains. You've heard many preachers preach on that. It's kind of like a woman in labor. He said, the baby is not here yet, but her pains are starting. Christ has not come yet, but the pains have pretty much started. The labor pains. Just as it's true with labor pains, we should expect that the things mentioned, wars, famines, earthquakes, we're seeing all of that, and so on, would be more frequent. I believe they're becoming more frequent and more intense. I mean, 20 years ago, did you hear very much about an earthquake in Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't. Now, we hear it's a regular thing. We don't even pay attention to it. And now they seem like they're trying to intensify just a little bit, doesn't it? That's just an example I picked up. But things will become more common and more intense before the return of Jesus Christ. But without any one of them being the specific sign of the end. You can't say, well, when this great earthquake happens or this great tsunami happens, that's going to be the end. Jesus said, no. Not any one of them. Lawlessness will abound, Jesus said. The love of many will grow cold. That's what stopped me. That's what I was reading Monday, and that's what got my attention. That's what made me want to stay on this and actually bring it to you today. The love of many will grow cold. I see it. And I see it in our church. I see it in all of our churches. That's what got me interested in going a little further with this chapter. I'm going to come back to that though. But in the period that Jesus ascends to heaven and before he comes again, his disciples should expect to see society, and we should too, become worse and worse. And we have. But this also is not the specific sign of his return. It's accumulation of signs that's showing us that we're either in the labor pains, beginning or well into those labor pains. This gospel, the kingdom. Now, here we go. Now we're getting into something we can hold on to. Look here. This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations. This is where Jesus puts his finger on the end times. And he says, then the end will come. The end will not come until the gospel has been preached to all nations, all tribes, every little group of people, anywhere and everywhere. Jesus said it will not come until that gospel has been preached to them. I just seen on TV a month or two ago, a couple of months ago, where the little guy, one of the continents around, I can't remember where it was at, he went to this little island, and he was going to witness to this tribe, and that tribe was known that they kill anybody that tries to approach them. And he come up missing naturally. I don't know if you remember that, LaDawn, where that was at? I can't remember now. I had it wrote down. I can't find it. But they killed him. They'll never find him. I'm going to tell you, the end of time will not come until that tribe has been preached to. The Bible tells us that. Until they've come to at least had the knowledge of Jesus Christ given to them. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached. I'm reading in red letters here. The gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. Some people believe, this is where you can get it confused, I'm not going to go that deep into it, that that's already happened. It's a gray area. Some people believe that it hasn't happened yet. So that takes you different places. I'm not going to cover that with you. Jesus also promised that before the end, the gospel would go out to the whole world. Now here's what's beautiful about your first time at your first service at your new church today. That's what you do. You are a big part of the end of time. That's what we do. That's why we have our youth camp. That's why we have Sunday morning services. That's why we have Sunday school. That's why we have children's church. That's why we're fixing to have Vacation Bible School coming up at the end of this week. It's because God is using us and the church to be a big part of this end time. To preach. Maybe there's a child over in this edition. Maybe there's a family over in this edition that don't know, hasn't been taught about who Jesus Christ is. And their knowledge is very limited on who He is and what He can do for them. He said that the gospel would go out to the whole world. I'm trying to help you to understand your purpose here. And this is just not a regular Sunday morning holiday weekend, and there's just a few of us decided to come to church. You come here for a purpose, and that's to be involved in this act of sending the gospel out to a lost and a dying world. This is prophesied. And it will happen through the church, by the church, in the church, or it's going to happen somewhere, somewhere else. I'll prove it to you. Brother Larry, it sounds like you just kind of making stuff up as you go. I try not to do that. It's a bad habit. Listen to this. You know what makes me feel good about today? Normally now I get a little bit depressed when we have numbers that are down. We could easily have an overflow today just because it's a holiday weekend. Doesn't mean it has to always go back the other way. Bring them back over here.
That's right.
Look at here. You know what's good about this? Listen. The persecution, the false prophets, and the general downgrade of society will not prevent the spread of the gospel. It will not, and it cannot. So all I got to do is try my best to do it right, Brother Gerald, with the mistakes I make along the way. I have to convince myself this is the first service of a brand new church, and you're the first group that's come here today. That's pretty good for a first service. If I have to do that and play games with myself, whatever I need to do, we're going to win. Whoever decides to stay with this church, leave this church, find another church, as long as they're serving, it's okay with me, because we're going to win.
Amen.
We have a purpose here. Your life is, for the 4th of July only offers so much stuff, so much excitement. But this is what's exciting, is what you're doing with today. Some claim that this has already took place. I know that. You can get in an argument with somebody real easily. But I'm going to tell you something. Once this takes place, Jesus Christ will return.
That's right.
Because He cannot deny His word, and His word says This gospel of the kingdom will be preached into all the world as a witness to all the nations.
Mm-hmm.
And then the end will come.
Mm-hmm.
The church, when I say the church, I'm talking about us, the accumulation of everything that's here. The church is to take this seriously as their duty.
That's right.
That's why the little programs that a lot of times we neglect and we don't take serious enough is a very grave mistake on our part as Christians. It's opportunities. Where else are you going to go and do what the church can collectively do together? Tell me that. Where else can you go with this many hands and this many feet and this many sets of eyes and ears and all the knowledge that's accumulated in this room about the Lord Jesus Christ? Mine's limited, yours is limited, but when we put it together, we may be doing okay. Where can you have the opportunities to serve Jesus like you can here? Through a little bitty vacation Bible school. Well, I got you. You're trying to trick us, Brother Larry. You're building up vacation Bible school. I see it. Oh, don't you see it, Bertha? You see it, Bertha? That's what he's doing. Yeah. I'm trying to build it up. I'm trying to get you to come to church. I'm trying to get you involved. I'm trying to get you committed to these services because we're going to win. Look at here. The church is to take this seriously as their duty. However, God assured that it will happen. I saw Revelations 14. If you would, just hold your finger right where you're at and run over to Revelations chapter 14 really quick. Verse 6 and 7. See, we have to make a choice if we're going to be a part of it or we're not going to be a part of it. Leave it to somebody else to do. Revelations chapter 14, verse 6 and 7. Have you found it? Looky here. It says, I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth. To who? To every nation. To who? To every tribe. To who? Every tongue and people. Saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come. That's when you'll see the end of time come. And no man can pinpoint it, but that has to be fulfilled first.
Mm-hmm.
You can send all the tornadoes and earthquakes you want to, all the floods you want to send. None of us like to see it. It's a scary thing. All the fires you want to send. It's just telling you we're in the labor pains. But when this church fulfills its mission and all other God's churches fulfill their mission, and these angels get done doing what they're going to do, He'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Now, I don't know how complicated we need to make it, but that's pretty simple for my simple mind. You say, well, this is done taking place there. Well, where's Jesus? He don't have nothing else to wait on if this has been fulfilled. And where's the people? Are you going to prove it to me? You going to prove to me that every nation has been told and every tribe? Where's the people? What's holiday weekend? Oh, my Lord God. Oh, God, help us. Forgive us. Forgive us. Now, I know, I do understand there are holiday weekends that sometimes we have to go get away, recharge and stuff, right? I do understand that. But I'm talking about on a continual basis. Paul elaborates on the fulfillment. Paul elaborates on the future fulfillment of this in 2 Thessalonians. Flip over there with me and I'll leave you alone. Just hold your place in Matthew. Go to 2 Thessalonians. I know we're tired. Chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. If you'll get there, if you'll stay with me on this one, I'll let you rest. Listen. Here we go. Here's what we see. Here's what your pastors see. Here's what your evangelists see. And if you're up here very long, you'll see it too. Look at here what Paul said. Paul elaborates on the future fulfillment of this in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. He says, that day will not come. What day? The second coming, the end of the world. The second coming of Jesus will not come unless the falling away comes first. The man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now, I don't know about all that other. It'd take us weeks and months to study about all that other, that second part of that verse. But I want you to pay close attention. That day will not come unless the falling away comes first. I see it. I see the falling away. I see the process beginning, or its way into it. I see it. I see the falling away. Every church down this street, I don't know what all denominations is down this street. Probably every one of them struggling, kind of like we do sometimes. And probably every one of them struggling. Let me tell you something. They should be filled up. You should have to get there early just to get your car in the parking lot. The rear end of your car is going to be sticking out in the highway. That's what it should be. But what you're seeing is you're seeing a falling away. You're seeing a lack of interest in the things of God.
Amen.
It's sad, but then again, it's kind of joyful in one way. It's sad because you know so many souls are going to be lost. But then again, you know, for the end of time to come, Paul said that had to happen. So it's kind of a mixed emotions. I'm glad you're here, but I'm sad that the rest of them are not here, if you will. Not pointing at anybody in particular, but you get my gist. We got an asphalt parking lot out there. A lot of people would just love to have an asphalt parking lot. I just wished it was full. Just don't know what else to do to get it that way. Maybe I know it's beyond my power, but listen to me. The key verse here that I want to back you up to is this. And that's Matthew 24 and 12. Now, take your finger there, Matthew 24. Back up to verse 12 again. And because iniquity shall abound. Now this is what we're seeing in the church today. The love of many shall wax cold. Oh, you don't need to worry about, Brother Larry, they got people up there to do vacation Bibles. I know health issues now. Don't take on condemnation. You've got health issues, you got things, but if you don't have, get you some of this condemnation. They got other people up there to take care of that. They got other people that can go to camp. They got other people to do this. Let me tell you something. If you don't do what you're called to do, God's going to send his angels in place of you to do it. I read that to you in Revelations. The angels will make sure it gets done. But pardon me, angel, let me do my best first. Scoot over, angel. I want to do what God's called me to do, and naturally you're going to have to finish the work for me. I know that. But these angels are deliberate. And they're going to fulfill God's word whether we do or not. It's the only way this church is going to grow, or these churches all the way down this highway is going to grow. Don't you look at your pastors and your evangelists. It's not their job. Brother Lance said one of the most important things to me here recently. I paid close attention to it. He said, we can't do it all.
Amen.
And I can't. And he can't either. But thank God for that. Oh, listen to this beautiful thing. Please listen again. I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven. Thank God for that angel, because we're going to go do it our way, when we want to do it, and how we want to do it. But I saw that angel flying in the midst of heaven. Since this is our first service in our new church, I want to give you all of it. Flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, to every tribe, even the little tribe that killed that young man, to every tongue and every language, he's saying, and every people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. You say, well, Brother Larry's done been taught to all the nations. Well, tell me why we only have about 2/3 at the most of the Bible translated into every nation in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least another third. I think it's more than that. There's at least another third of languages that cannot read a Bible because it's not in their language. And you tell me this has been fulfilled. Let me read the definition of iniquity to you. Remember, hearts will grow cold. That's what you're seeing. Okay? Well, I'm not a popular evangelist or whatever you want. I don't care what you label me as. I'm not very popular. Why are hearts cold? Iniquity abounds. Iniquity abounds. What is the definition of iniquity? Gross injustice. I'm talking about in the church. Wickedness.
Yep.
A wicked act or thing, sin. According to the standard list, they are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, slothfulness. You know what slothfulness is? Anybody know what slothfulness is?
Laziness.
Somebody else can do it. They can take care of it.
That's right.
Right? We're going to do our job. Listen, let me tell you, when you stand before God someday, I hope God says, well, you know, Brother Larry, he's a messed up dude. And he told you the truth. If you don't do it, your angels will have to. But it will get done. Oh, praise God. When I get down and I see this, and I think, what's it going to take to get people's interest in God's house and to the children, to the neighborhood, and to the lost? And just like having the brother here last Sunday from the Gospel Rescue Mission and we're going to send all of our Penny March money, Brother Keith, to him this time. I just feel like we need to do that. And that precious pennies and that precious money those babies handle, God's going to anoint that money. I don't know. I think it's going to be quite a bit of change for them. And He's going to send it over there to men and women that's lost, that's addicted and confounded. He's going to send them over there to try to help them, to hear the Word of God preached to them in a setting somewhere. I won't you don't have to turn there on this one. I'll read it to you anyway. Mark chapter 12, verse 30 and 31 says, "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength." This is the first commandment. And the second commandment is, and the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. You see the connection? You have to love yourself first before you can love your neighbor. You got to love who you are in God before you have the ability and the strength to love your neighbor. Right? It's a lot of work to love your neighbor, by the way. There's a lot of responsibility that comes along with that commandment, by the way. It's a lot of work to take interest in children that nobody else is interested in. Or go to a camp or something, or do something with them to point them toward Jesus. And that's not the only missions that the church has. It's just a lot of work to come to church, to be obedient to God's house. Not only with our finances, but with our spirituality and all the things that go with it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. And Paul knew this. And Jesus Christ knew this. But let me tell you, how do these two, Sister Sue, answer it for me if you can. I know you're wise in the Bible. How can we do these first two commandments when it points back up here and says the love of many shall wax cold? Wait a minute, I think it's just come to me. Thou shalt coldly love the Lord thy God. And thou shalt coldly love thy neighbor. That works, don't it? So you got to have this other going on before those two ever work. That's why he sent the rich ruler away. He didn't have that love in his heart that he needed for others. Here's something you might want to tremble at, and I like the commentator Gulick. I use him a lot, David Gulick. I guess that's how you say it, I don't know. This actually comes from Charles Spurgeon, though. Here's something to tremble at. You remember all those calamities I read you, the earthquakes and the famine and the pestilence and all those things that's coming our way. We've gotten little pieces and taste of them. You remember that? Let me tell you what Charles Spurgeon has to say about that, if that's what you're concerned about. Here is something to tremble at. Because iniquity shall abound, even in the church. That is worse than pestilence. Iniquity is worse than any pestilence that we could ever face. The love of many shall wax cold. Unforgiveness in the heart. Now, he didn't write that, I'm saying that. Being able to unforgive somebody. What has happened to us? What has happened to us to have that type of unforgiveness that we're so wrong we can't forgive each other anymore? What has happened? I'll tell you what's happened. Cold hearts. Iniquity. That's what iniquity does.
Amen.
It develops a cold heart where you can't do it anymore. It's not in you. Looky here. This is what Charles Spurgeon, he's a lot smarter man than me. This is what he had to say about it. That is worse than persecution. A cold heart is worse than pestilence. A cold heart in the church is worse than persecution. As all the water outside, I connect to this very well. As all the water outside a vessel, you know what a vessel is? It's a ship. As all the water outside a vessel can do it no hurt until it comes inside the vessel. Why you're seeing what you're seeing today is I believe we're in the last days.
That's right.
Because of the cold-heartedness that I see.
Amen.
And that's why you see an absentee from the church house.
Amen.
And you see many that can't even stick to the church house because of it.
Mm-hmm.
The water can't hurt the vessel if the water stays on the outside. But when the water becomes to come inside, it destroys the vessel.
That's right.
The vessel either comes apart or it sinks down and it starts taking on other water. I know it well. I've been there. I've done that for quite a long time. I'm messing with vessels. And what's happening is this cold-heartedness is creeping into the church slowly.
Yep.
Slowly. Little sins, little unforgivenesses, little this, a little that. I know. I probably preached to you 3 years this way almost.
Yep.
Now the boat just gets a little bit lower. A little bit lower than water. It's got that water in it, so it gets a little bit lower. Then the first thing that comes along that takes your feet out from under you, it pulls you down. And the whole vessel is gone. I'm talking about the church now. We can talk about sinners all day. Cold hearts. Interests lie other places. Interests begin to form in other places, not where they should be. Amen?
Amen.
Well, we'll go and owe me in there. I will. Owe me.
Mm-hmm.
That means it affects me just like it does you. I'm preaching to myself. God preached to me in Matthew 24 before I ever brought this message to you. There's some hard people who don't forgive. I've forgiven everyone in the last 3 years at this church. Do you know you're forgiven? Huh? I've done it. Now, there ain't one of them ain't welcome back here either. Been a few that's left. Now, they may not be able to act the same way they did when they left. They're welcome back. Look here. So outward persecutions cannot really injure the church of God. Did you hear what I just said? Listen, this is good now. I'm not claiming this. I'm giving this to you from God himself. I do believe out of God's word. Listen to me. Listen to me. Outward persecution, Sister Sue, cannot hurt the church. It's the inward. What inward, Brother Larry? The cold hearts. Oh, cold hearts are dangerous. They rip and they tear. And they fill it up with all this iniquity. It is sin. And it just fills it. It bogs the boat down. The sails don't work right. The motor don't. The stern don't turn it right. The church doesn't work right anymore. And then it goes and it carries on, and it affects. It gets an affection going in the church. God knew it. That's why Charles Spurgeon wrote. He said, "Don't you, church? Don't you worry about the persecutions. You keep the inside right. God will take care of the outside."
Amen.
Thank you, Ashley. So outward persecutions cannot really injure the church of God, but when the mischief, listen to me, when the mischief oozes. You ever had that green slime in his little? Matt, did your mom ever get you any of that green slime? When it oozes, when the mischief oozes into the church. I'm not talking about any one person here. I'm not talking necessarily about this church in itself. I'm talking about all of churches, all of God's churches. When it oozes inside. I like the way he put that. And the love, and he adds this with it, and the love of God's people grow cold.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Waxes cold. Ah. Then the barge is in sore distress. You've seen barges on TV lately, haven't you? I've been right next to them. Hey! You got your paperwork with you? Right there beside it. When you just try to cross the wake of a barge, if that barge is moving very fast, it's a rough rodeo till you get across it. Right out there on that Arkansas River. If the heart grows cold, oh, Brother Larry, please stop, I know. If the heart grows cold, everything will be coldly done. When that happens, you don't have to really worry too much about it. It won't be here very long. The church anyway. When the heart grows cold, everything's coldly done. That's why I thought the second time about Vacation Bible School this year. I soon not have it if it's coldly done. I soon not have it if our heart's not in it.
Amen.
For one little child in 25 years from now is going to accept Jesus Christ because of that Vacation Bible School that we taught.
Amen.
When love declines, what cold preaching we have. This is not cold preaching today, I assure you. This is heating you up pretty good. Right? What cold singing we have when the heart grows cold. No matter how good the singers are. What pretty music made by pipes and by wind. But oh, how little of the soul song. How little singing in the Holy Ghost. Making melody into the heart and to God when the heart grows cold. And what poor praying. What poor praying. Do you call it praying when the heart grows cold? What little giving? What little giving? When the heart is cold, the hands can find nothing in the purse. When the heart's cold, the hands can find nothing in the purse. Why? Not because there's nothing in the purse. Because the cold hearts took it other places. And Christ's church and Christ's poor and the heathen may perish. Thank God I'm no different than that. Now, Charles Spurgeon wrote this, but well, there would be some heathen perish. He is right there. I was thinking about the angels there. I was wrong. For we must needs hoard up for ourselves live to grow rich when the heart grows cold. Is there anything that goes on as it ought to go on when our love waxes cold? No. And your preacher can't change it, and your evangelist can't change it. Right? God has to change that. I couldn't fix it if I wanted to. But this is the only thing, really and truly, it's the cold hearts the church has to be worried about. Don't worry about all the famine. Don't worry about all the persecutions and the pestilence. That's the outside, see. If the inside's right and the hearts are warm and receptive to the lost and dying world, we're doing what God's called us to do.
Right.
It cannot penetrate the church.
Amen.
Hurt the church will stand. And it's going to stand.
Yep.
A cold heart in the church is like a vessel or a boat taking on water. In time, individually, it will sink. Matthew 24, one more verse, verse 13. Here's the good news. Praise God. You ought to be thankful I didn't read the whole Matthew 24 because it can get depressing. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Huh?
Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to show you something. I'm done. Y'all talk about me preaching so long, say I'm under pressure to get done. I'm done. I want to show you something before I quit, completely quit. Brother Landon got me this rock a while ago. And that little washer, Sister Sandra found me some string. I think about my childhood a lot lately. I don't know. As a little boy. And I want you to imagine, this is pretty much how it looked. We just find an old piece of string somewhere laying around on the road, side of the road, a piece of wire, whatever we can find. And we get us an old rock. Now, if you had a rock that had a hole in it, Linda, you find your rock with a hole in it, Sister Linda, that was big trading material. Because you could tie that string right through that hole, and that rock wouldn't slip off. Then we'd go to Mama's refrigerator, we'd steal just a little bit of bacon. Now, bologna will work too, Gerald, but it softens up when you put it in the water. A lot of times it'll fall off. But you get you a piece of bacon with that red stuff on the end of that. What is that called? Huh? The meat part. You get that little piece of bacon. You tie on there where that washer's at. Now, this is a washer. Let's just say the washer wasn't here and I had a little piece of bacon tied onto that. We go down on Electric Street to McAllister, where I was born not too far from there. And that was before the 4 lanes was put in. It was Gene Stott Boulevard, and they got mad at him and made it electric, and then they brought it back and made it electric. I think it's still electric. But right there, you'll see a bridge, you see a big canal. That wasn't there. That was just a big bunch of rocks underneath an old tore down road. And it was deep underneath that bridge. It had big old rocks laying around it. Just no ditch. But we plan on going there some weekend on Saturday. We plan on making an all-day event. We go down there with our bacon and our string and our rocks and a piece of bacon tied on, and we'd find a rock, and we would pitch it over in that water, right there like that. No hooks. And pretty soon we'll feel a little bit of a tug on that string. Pull it a little bit. Will that tug it stop? Now there's an art to this. I know I make it look easy. You pay attention, Happy? We pull that string a little bit more, man, and that tug would stop. You know what's on the other line? The biggest old crawdads you've ever seen in your life. You can't find them that big anymore. I haven't seen one that big in forever. This is one of them old holes, mud holes. It just took generation after generation, I guess, to get that big. I don't know. But you know what's going on here? When I first tug on that crawdad, it would scare him, he'd let go. But he got just a little bit of a hint of that piece of bacon. Just a little. He'll come back. Pretty soon you feel him again, and he's on there again. You tug him just a little bit. You don't pull him. You don't jerk him out of there. He can let go a lot quicker than you can jerk. But you just tease him a little. Let him ride this for a minute. Let it stop. This process will go on for an hour. Pretty soon, that old cold crawdad, that old cold-hearted crawdad, he won't let go. He just stay on there. He eating that bacon. He's locked on there, Keith. How much stop? He's on that bacon. Big old crawdads. Right up here. At first, our heart tries to grow cold. Well, no, we'll let somebody. No, I ain't gonna get involved in that now. No, that's too much. No, let somebody else save the world now. That's not my call. I was getting me a little piece of bacon here and there. Get that thing about parallel with you. Now you're threatening your buddies right now. Say, come over here. Leave me alone. That old crawdad's there. Lift him up and set him out on the bank, and he'll hang on the whole time. He won't even let go of it when he gets on the bank. You see, that's how we start sometimes. We get on the bait. We like what God's got to offer us. We latch on to it. Then there's a little jerk comes along and we let go. Let go. And then it just sits there and we go back to it. We'll latch on to it. So that's why Satan does this. Well, you need to go over here and find interest in it. It's a lot better what you're doing.
Mm.
Next thing you know, Satan's got us plumb up here against the bank. We're so involved in getting this piece of bacon as much as we can get or get it off of there.
Yep.
He lifts us plumb up out of the water and sets us on the bank. We are caught.
Yep.
That's right.
Cold-hearted crawdad.
Mm-hmm.
Satan's crafty. How do you think he got us where we're at? Because he likes to make hearts cold.
That's right.
That's his job. You find 5 to 10 more hearts in a church, you can build many more churches. Jesus did it with 12. He conquered the whole world. So, I tell this story in Sunday school a lot. Daniel drives me crazy. He said, well, what do you do with them? I say, well, you can't find crawdads that big anymore. They're crawdads, they're not lobsters. You get red ones and black ones. And so we get a big, and Gerald, this is where you come in. What's the size of that great big tub? What number is that big tub? Wash tub. Get them different size wash tubs, you know, those 10, number 10. We get number 10 wash tub, we put all of our crawdads in there. See? And then every now and then we catch one of them little green turtles, and you just catch them little dime store turtle, you know. You just catch him swimming around, get one of them, stick him in there. So the biggest crawdads were the biggest trading material, or the smallest turtle. Now, why that went the opposite way, I don't know. But if you had little bitty green turtles, you had some trading material. Now, if you had a couple rocks on you that had holes in them, Sister Linda, you could probably trade for true crawdads. I know you'd be real interested in doing that. You follow me? Cold hearts develop because we begin to ignore the danger. We begin to get our eyes off of Jesus. We begin to get our eyes on the world and so many other things. We have unforgiveness in our heart. We think something's owed to us. We say, well, they can do it better than I can. And all along, Satan's pulling on that rope. Next thing you know, Well, I remember them, they used to be so loyal to church and just involved in everything. They made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives. Next thing you know, where they at, I don't know. First the family was separated, zip, boom. We've had preachers right here in this church that's been done to. They've lost their family, lost their kids, sitting right there. And you tell me Satan don't have the strength? You tell me that God don't know what he's talking about in Matthew 24 when he says hearts will grow cold? Amen. Father, we come, Lord, and I thank you that, Father, we hope that we delivered this the way you'd have us to, and